Hello, everyone. It's Cheryl Millett here, live at 5. I guess today is all things healthy as usual, and I will probably dive and roll with a few different things, but the idea is always to bring up topics that are kind of present with me in the last day or in the last few days or in the last week. And one of them is choice. So when we're thinking about present in the moment still, but choices that you have, and what you can do is ask yourself the question, what choices do I have? And over time, you'll see that you have more choice than you think you have. And it would be an exercise more often to do when you have some time, since you have some space and time to think about it. But choice. So what choices do you have? And you can play with it actually with little, exercises where it's not such a big thing. It could be, and it's not as simple as that. But you're coming into a mall. Now, here's a kind of a simple example here, is you're coming into a mall. And when you're coming into a mall, what's happening is you say, I can go to the left or I can go to the right. And that's choices. Other things, that might be just a very small thing as far as choice goes. But other things can be very much on the other side of the spectrum. Am I going to go, am I going to move? Am I going to change jobs? Those kind of things. So choice becomes such a practice that you can use. We know we all have choice. And we have choices to, as simply as I said, you go into a mall, are you going to go left? Are you going to go right? Or are you going to go straight? And sometimes you have these choices, which store you're going to go into. So if we can all just play with we have choice, those 3 words, we have choice, then as you go through your day, as you go through your week, as you go through life, you are naturally gaining that thought process as if I have choice, what are my choices? So no matter where you are with a situation or a scenario, and whether yourself or with your others, it's somewhat of a mental exercise. But by doing it now and doing it in various areas, what are my choices? I have choice. What are my choices? And answering those questions in your head even, and see just you do have choice, just to bring to the light that we have choice in many different scenarios. And it may expand to another question, which is, I don't have choice here, but why would I be doing this? Why would I be going to this, this birthday party when I don't want to go? And you're going to come up with some sort of positive spin on it, whereas I'm doing this because it's going to make my cousin feel good, or I'm going to get to meet some of the family that I've never met before. Come up with some sort of a reason or a purpose that you want to do it, other than, you do have choices, but at the same time, you might have scenarios where it is best for this reason to do that. So that's kind of choice. Now I'm going to dive right into, I'm going to say hello, Ted, Lori, and Paul. Welcome. I'm going to step right into food now, because food is choice, very much so. From the foods that we're choosing, to the foods, to how we eat, to how often we chew, to how thankful we are for the food that we have. All of those things around food. Do we eat 3 times a day? Do we eat 3 times and 2 snacks, which you might have heard this before from me, is the no snack movement. So how much food we eat, where we eat, how we eat it, all of those things are choice. So I've kind of talked about choice. Choice is applied in almost all areas of our life. And if we narrow it down to food and to diet, many people make their choices for the reasons they do, because we all know, And it's a knowing that if it's a bag of cookies that we want to purchase, we have a choice whether to purchase it or not, and we choose to purchase it. And it's same kind of processes. Why are you choosing to purchase it, and how? It could be, it's my daughter's favorite cookie and I'm celebrating. You see kind of how that kind of fits in. And you soon kind of just get the process of just actually being present and bringing it into awareness. So it's almost like you're observing yourself through your choices to see what's going on, and you learn about yourself. So that's key there. When it comes to food choices, you may or may not be aware of a number of things that I kind of bring up here, but I like the stories because it brings light to the choices that people have made and the experiences that it brought them, and then they come to a different place. They had that choice before, but they weren't exercising what choices do they have, so much so because they just didn't know. And these are people that people looked up to in the food industry. And not to say too many names here, but the idea is, as some are right now, so gung-ho on vegan, gung-ho on vegetarian, and I get it for the commercial sense of it, but the idea is we have to come back to what is best for our health. I see some little getting sidetracked here by the mere fact that certain things are commercially being grown and the process that are being used, and we're stepping away from what is better for our health, because any food group out there has a healthier version, just about. So if you want something sweet, that's how I'm just going to frame the sweetness, right? Because you can say, what, there's a healthier version of hard candy, Cheryl? But let's just put all of that into sweet. Now I'm going to go into kind of taste buds here. Salt, savory. Any of those, when we relate it to taste buds, have a healthier version. So if you got a little bit of a sweet tooth because, there's a lot of stress going on, and we know how the cortisol kind of knocks into those cravings, because we have to have that quick fix of sugar, because our body is assuming we're running away from a lion, and we're not running away from a lion. So here you go, just, a teaspoon of sugar, not a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of honey. That's a very good sweetener. It's a little bit more difficult to break down. It could even be some dried fruits, dates or apricots, those kind of things. So they would be much healthier when we think of concentrated sweet things or sugar to kind of work with that. For diabetes, boy, if their sugar is way down, of course, orange juice, things like that are going to be much better than a date or that kind of stuff. But that's where you kind of want to go with, that's kind of sidetracking from there. But we have people out there that have gone on various what we may deem as the ideal diet or the best diet, and we have an idea out there that, okay, there's not one diet for everyone. So true. We have to consider culture. We have to consider how our lives or lifestyle is too as well. And some people who are raw food vegans, and I was just listening to somebody who I haven't, kept in touch with by all means. There's a few that I have kept to, because I was going towards that raw food vegan, definitely raw food. And that's where I'll still maintain a very strong presence with raw food, just because of the enzymes. But we do have to make sure it's grown, it's with the wild, the organic, much of these things. And trust me, you won't even be eating as much when you manage stress levels, and when you're actually working with a healthier diet. Your body's not craving or starving, as they say with some people, that they're actually continuously eat because the body just wants nutrients. But I think there's always some stress there. That's a big play there. So processed foods. So here I'm just going to finish off the story. So here's a guy who was raw food vegan. Actually, there's a number of stories, but he was raw food vegan and soon realized that his health wasn't being served that way, and went to like raw goat milk. And I'm not sure people kind of go into the actual, the raw milk is from a cow, bigger beef cow thing, but they go to fish, and they go to raw milk and raw eggs. That's the other thing. So they can kind of justify, the smaller animals, and there's reasons for that. But the idea is we do have choice there, and it's really becoming aware of how we're feeling. And I can tell you without doubt that the processed foods, all the cooked foods, the high heat frying foods, and the ingredients that goes into all those processed foods, particularly my specialty and understanding, is the refined vegetable oils. So whether it's canola, whether it's even organic canola or not, these oils are highly, heat, deodorized, and bleached. It's not even something your body would actually use easily, readily. And when people want to understand, and I've done this, so now I'm going to share another story you probably have never shared before, is the idea when I have deviated to experiment, I'll call it, as let's say French fries. It's not, no, you're not going to catch me going to McDonald's and eating 2 Big Macs. No, that ain't going to happen. But let's say greasy food, French fries, perhaps. I'm trying to think of other things. They have those things, the taters, and so what I noticed when eating some of those food, potato chips is another one, and is that you just have more bowel movements, right? More bowel movements. And I'm thinking that all that crappy oils, and this actually works with alcohol too. This is another experiment I did, drinking alcohol. The body just wants to move it through. Coffee too, same thing. It's just, these stimulants, they almost act similar to laxatives in a way, and they keep things moving. And I had a conversation with my uncle, and he's mentioned we should go 3 times a day to the bathroom. And I'm going, well, if you eat a lot of food, which we don't really need to eat a lot of food, probably 2.5 meals a day, no snacks, and we wouldn't have that many. And basically our system is not like a dog where they eat, they go. No, we don't need to eat and go. That is my conclusion of just even me experimenting with the foods, never mind reading, is that when we put crappy food in our body, specifically all of these, fats, that it just kind of goes through. It's like my dog. Certain dogs are not supposed to have a lot of fat. And this is a good example of this, trying to tie this together for you, is when I give him too much fat. Let's say, okay, look, the grease, they'll sometimes put butter in a pan or something. He loves butter. Or it could be that we're warming up some lamb bacon and there's some grease there. Or even with, making a roast chicken, and there's all this natural, it's from the farmers, but there's that, there's the collagen, there's different things. And when he has too much, when he passes, there's a threshold that he has, he will have loose stools. I'm going to take him back all the way, off the fat and stuff. And then it just kind of normalizes. So that's a really good example for me giving you that if we have too much of these unhealthy fats and fatty foods, that our body is just, don't want it, and it just slides everything out. So we have to think about if we do that too often, be it coffee and other things, I believe, and I don't know, but I almost know a little bit, because the color of the stools will be lighter, that much lighter. So absorption of nutrients. So when we're eating kind of these things that our body does not, sees it as toxin, sees it as poison, sees it as whatever we want to call it, then everything is being pushed through as fast as it can. As fast as it can, maybe faster for some. And these are why some of these foods, people have colitis or inflammation. It's not really colitis. It's actually colonitis is the original name. Colon, as we know, the colon, and itis, so inflammation in the colon. And of course our body would be more sensitive to these foods. and they would absolutely be causing issues in there. So I just want to kind of talk to you from time to time about how processing affects our body. This will be the first time I've actually brought up, that about number of bowel movements. And of course, if you're eating a lot of food, you're thinking you're going to go all the time, but our system is much slower than an animal, a dog, let's say, much slower. And we obviously seeds and nuts too, if you see them in there, and corn, that might be natural because seeds and nuts are not supposed to be broken down. The nuts we chew, the little seeds and things like that, like in tomatoes and corn, if we don't chew it well enough, these are part of the plants that actually want to become plants, and it is meant to go through our system like a bear's scat would. If you've seen it eat a lot of berries, it's got lots of seeds in it, and that's just survival of the plants. That's a whole other issue to talk about, seeds and all of that. Hello, Leslie. Hi, Terry. Hi, Debbie. And Ivan and Angela. Yeah, and the others that come in earlier. Listen, I'd love to answer any questions here. And sometimes I think, oh yeah, I just want to hear. I just want to hear what's kind of being communicated here. You really don't have the questions, and I get that. And I'm grateful that I just have this forum to share this information easily and effectively through Facebook, and then upload it on YouTube. But basically, we just really have to understand we're eating way too much food. How this relates to diabetes, I have to tell you this, is that it's quite opposite of what they're telling us, which is eat 5 times a day, eat small meals, maybe small meals, 3 small meals, but not 5 or 6 small meals, not ongoingly. We're really burning up a lot of energy by eating a lot of food to begin with. And secondly, we're stressing out the pancreas. And if people are taking insulin, they have more reason to take insulin. They really do, because the food that they're eating and all that food is actually raising their blood sugar levels. And of course, they need more insulin to deal with it. Think of it almost as an exhausted pancreas. And the cells in the body are going, hey, we don't want the sugar in here anymore. Or we have enough from carbs from what already eaten. It's like a bar would do. We only have a max number of patrons that can come into the bar, into the restaurant. So there's so many seats. You can look at it that way. So many seats. So therefore, anybody that's, or in this case, any glucose that's trying to come into the cell cannot come in because it's full. It's all full up. And we know that happens when you go to restaurants, and you may have to wait outside. And probably waiting outside with high blood sugar levels isn't ideal on an ongoing basis. And that's what we'd be doing if we don't take enough insulin, which we know is medication, meds, and they have in their own right all these various side effects. And of course, we have to monitor it all the time. And in the monitoring, it's not a second-to-second scenario. And it's not absolute, as in anybody can say, you eat this, and then you got to take this, and they're not sure, maybe there's more seats available today, and maybe you're not eating as much. But the idea is we really have to understand the amount of food that we're eating and the impact on our health, and the type of food that we're eating and the impact it has on our health, and understand that yeah, there are times you're going to eat certain foods, and I'm telling you, when you eat these certain foods, be it fried foods, you may have looser stools, and you may be grateful for that. This is great. I eat this food, I'm going better. I drink coffee, and I'm more, more regular, and possibly there is benefits on that, rather than having it take around, but. Definitely water is going to be very helpful. Chewing is going to be helpful. Relaxing is going to be helpful. And having that space and time to sit and just relax and not go. Anything around the tightening of the abdomen, you're holding. And quite often people are go a lot during the day. They're not training their system to have the bowel movement, the regular bowel movement. So if I had to give you one homework to do, which I can say would absolutely take well, who knows, months, years, it doesn't matter how long it takes, but is to train your body to have a bowel movement every day at a certain particular time. I think we've learned that with sleep cycles, and it would be nice if we all learned that with eating. So if you're going to eat a certain way, it's best to work with that schedule that you have. And if your life is a bit hectic, I'll call it, as in you don't really know, you never really know, then that's really some homework for you, because it's no different than taking time for yourself and bringing balance into your life, and taking holidays or vacation and having non-work days where the phone is away. And this is all part of it. It's really looking at your lifestyle and where you can make your changes so that we can all have better bowel movements. There we go. So we can all have better, peace and comfort and all of those things. But ideally, you have somewhat of a routine. If it's, don't go to the other side with, of this on me, which is it has to be like that way all the time. This is where we have to be open, we have to be flexible, we have to be accepting of certain things that come our way. That may last an hour, it may last a half a day, it may last a day, it may last a week, it may last a month. And to accept that, we have things coming at us in our lives that to understand that if you have a bit of this routine, it's actually very helpful when these things do come at us in life. And these routines will be very, very helpful because your body will be trained. It won't be like being pulled in this direction and pulled in that direction. The training of some of these things, of training your body and training, the timing and all of that, if something crazy is happening, your body's only going to want to do it anyway, because that's the training. So you don't miss out on the importance of training. It's the same as athletes. They train. So when it comes time, it's almost like their body remembers. It's got this wonderful memory of how to do things, and spatial recognition if they're running or doing certain things. And it's similar to that. So to train yourself on a routine, a schedule, whether it's even including going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time, that's very valuable. It's very valuable for our systems. And it's not meant to be mundane. It's not meant to take you out of the interesting parts that happen. If you find yourself in that mode or going towards that, then we got to shake it up. So I'm kind of already taking you to that place where be present with all of this and be grateful and accepting. So it's almost that mindfulness, that present, being in the moment. And they basically say, well, any river that you walk into is different. So every time you come to a meal, it can be different, even if it's the same meal. And I know, how does that work, Cheryl? Well, I don't know. You're going to have to think about it, because really it is about you thinking about the choices you have to make it not seem like a mundane schedule, right? This is where I've got to kind of ease you into knowing that you do have, the capability to make things interesting for yourself and to work with what's interesting for you. Absolutely. I don't want you getting into that space and where it's just black and white, straight, that way. It's not. It's far from that. But I think that's very helpful. So we talked about choice, we talked about somewhat of the diet and how people are starting to learn, even if they're on that healthiest diet, that that's not necessarily the best way in the path. Highly processed foods making a difference to how we change, how our digestive system reads it, and going 3 times a day, I don't think it's good. And you know what they say before, I remember hearing this, it should be this big and it should Well, of course, you're eating so much food. You've been trained to eat so much food that you have that, that much. But just think about how much of that is going through your body that your body has to deal with to convert it. That takes up energy, and it's not necessary. The idea of having that much means that much waste of what you're eating is actually going through your digestive system needing to go out. Anyway, listen, some of this is my theory based on, 10 different things. No time to go through it. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to add a couple of things to my book, which is what wonderful Live at 5 kind of can give me that freedom there. But that's where I'm going to leave it for today. If you came on a little bit later and you want to go, and I would encourage you going back to listen about the choice and some of these other things. They kind of all fit into how we can be healthier and the things to consider. So that's great. Any questions at all? Be it's now, being it's later, I will definitely get the messages, and it could be a different topic. There maybe you want to throw out a topic that you want to talk to. I often get asked the question, I won't spend too much time on it tonight, but I can another day, is the question about water. Which water should we drink? What protein, protein shake is the best protein shake. I think my dog is choking over there, but choking's a good thing. Now, if a person's choking, you don't have to do the Heimlich, right? So that's a good thing. You want them to keep choking and coughing and, breaking up that obstruction there. This is my joint health and safety committee days and all the first aid we had to do and certifications and all of that stuff. But yeah, any questions, any feedback, any comments? If you think this could help, this information, especially the information I was talking about, too much food, people who are diabetes. I'll just end with this. There's a whole group of practitioners, many of them being dietitians, believe it or not, many of them being doctors, are around the world. There's a group that I'm part of, and some of you may be part of them as well, Therapeutic Nutrition. There's a couple of other names involved, but the idea is they've caught on. They're actually talking about too much food and no snacks. So it's great. I commend them for it. I say you're on the right direction. I pipe in and give them some other things to think about, but they're doing presentations. And the key thing around that group actually is to do with diabetes. They are horrified on the growing numbers of people that have diabetes. They're horrified on what they have been working with and it not working. They have tuned into more of a paleo kind of diet. Anytime they talk to keto, if you've actually watched my video on keto, I still stand firm with that. Watch it, look for keto, Google it, or search it or something, or find it on YouTube. That I've piped in with them as far as caution. And anybody who tells me that they're going on the keto diet, I pipe in with the caution on the keto diet. And cautions, just understand that processed foods are definitely Leslie guys, 1 meal a day is a good thing. Well, let's just say 1 meal a day is going in the right direction than 5 meals a day by far. Some people will have to adjust to different things. Absolutely. And it's like anything, you get to ride a bike first with training wheels, and then you eventually take one wheel off, and then you take 2 wheels, and then you're 2 wheels and going. No wheels, just the 2 wheels, not the 4 wheels, and you're off to the races down the road. And whole built up confidence with that, and just experiencing what it feels like with even going without 1 meal when you thought you had to have 5 meals. So you get to experience for yourself. The system will definitely have to adjust, because I can honestly tell you, nutrient dense is absolutely the key. And understand some people's livers and some people's systems don't even process foods that well. We're talking enzymes, we're talking, they're exhausted. So it is building up a system. It's no different than cleansing and detoxing. And when we cleanse and detox, quite often the issues that come up are because it is too fast, too much, too quick. And it would be different for everybody. But just know it's not necessarily mean it's a bad thing, right? As in just straight up quitting smoking, or straight up going to 1 meal. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but understand there will be adjustments, and to do it right and to have nutrient-dense food. For some people, going to healthier food is a challenge for them because of, well, many things would be a challenge for them. So ideally, for some, they have to take much smaller steps, or some smaller steps and habits, even just getting in the habit of chewing processed foods. If they have to not even change and they go to 3 meals and they're learning to chew their food better, is really healthy, because I will say the reason being is a number of the healthy foods require chewing. Nuts, raw vegetables, salads, they require a lot more chewing than your highly cooked food, which I'll just say it because it just popped in my head, which is like mush, right? Aside from the crust that comes about when you are frying and baking and stuff, because it's really like so dehydrated that, but that's kind of what we have to look at cooked food anyway. It's kind of like dehydrated food. But the idea is, when you move into more of a raw food diet, chewing becomes extremely important, even more important, because the nutrients are locked in tight. They're locked in tight, which is, if you think of mammal products, they're not so locked in, because if you think of an egg, or if you think of sashimi, you think of, raw beef, let's say, it's very soft. You can access things easily. It's similar to the breast milk is so much easier for that infant, that baby, the newborn, for it to digest, because they're really not breaking down anything. They needed a liquid diet. You need a liquid diet. So I hope that's helpful. But yes, nutrient density, eating a whole lot less food than what most people appreciate, and you will definitely come down on your diabetic medication, no question. But it is a challenge for some people to be told by practitioners that they have to do that. But I'm telling you that there's a number of practitioners and a group that I think that they're absolutely saying that is no good. And that's my same conclusion anyway. And it's, again, I know what I know, they know what they know, and we're better at discerning what this is all about. That's why I can't say it enough, that if you're going to be doing changes, or you think the vegetarian diet is the optimum, is actually, pick up the phone, send an email, connect with a practitioner that probably knows much more than you do, and run it past them before you get into any situation that kind of comes up. So that, I think, is so important. Before, I used to think everybody could learn it on their own. Everybody could kind of can do it. But I kind of retract that a little bit, because of the ability that I have to discern the information in the bigger picture of things, and putting things in the bigger picture. And whereas we tend to read things and take things in more pockets, or just isolated things, thyroid, let's talk about the thyroid, or we're just focusing on the colon, you're focusing on the broken bone, or you're focusing on certain things. And really, it's so valuable to actually look at it in a bigger sense. And that is so important. And that's why I'll say that a practitioner who knows their stuff is going to be so much more instrumental. Now, is there a little bit of interviewing process? Absolutely. Are they biased for one diet versus the other? That can be, that can be true too. I believe practitioners should give some time, whether it's a 15-minute scenario, which I've done for years, to ask their question of certain things of the practitioner, to determine whether or not it's a right fit. It's a right fit for them, and to feel out where they are in their in their path, or kind of, have they worked with these people, and or certain things, or what knowledge they have. Ask questions, and don't, feel free to ask. And I'm including naturopaths in that too as well. All practitioners, will they be able to answer? Maybe you're speaking to the receptionist first, but will they be able to answer your questions in a way that you're happy and satisfied, and to understand where, if there's any biases with their kind of thing, right? So it really should be kind of all open, but certain people have expectations on things, and I will tell you that each and every one of you here, including myself and everybody on this planet, is unique. And there's many ways to prove that, or to show that, from, yes, doing iridology, but the fact that we look different, the fact that things different, blood type is different, so many things that can show our uniqueness. I could probably come up with 100 things that you could agree with, but there's a lot more than that. Even just your stress levels and what stress that you have would be different for everyone, right? Every kind of different scenario there. So I'm going to end off for today, because today that's been probably just over half an hour. But we talked about a lot of things. If you're just coming on board, I'd highly recommend you go back and watch it, and actually understand, about the choices, and the bowel movement stuff, and much more. It's been great. I'm glad to see you. Hi, Rick. And Leslie. Hi, Leslie. So I always welcome questions or comments, as Leslie's piped in there. Always, yes, there's no stupid question. There is no far-fetched question. There is no comment. I mean, if this is a belief of yours, you got it from somewhere, and maybe you're just, kind of just wanting to share that, and I can even just elaborate on that to, in a group, right? So more and more people can understand things, and, it's education at the end of the day, right? So thank you, everybody, for coming on board. If you liked what was shared here, and you think it can help people, share this, or just share, the spoken word here, some of the things. It's yours to do as you wish. But if you have any questions, feel free to put them down below now, or anytime in the future. Private message me if you feel that that's more comfortable for you. That's fine too. But yes, Live at 5 is really just about coming on here and me being able to continuously share information I think is of value. I really believe, I know my book is about 350 pages, but that doesn't do it justice. These Live at 5s kind of fill in the pieces for sure, because if I went through my Live at 5s now for probably a year and a half, or maybe going on 2 years, and pulled out all of the different things, I'm sure it would be thousands of pages. And I think that's the tricky part for people writing books, is the mere fact that experience is going to be different for different people, for sure. So you can't really nail it. You can't really take a hammer and just nail some of this information and you just read it and it's black and white. It doesn't work like that by far. So you're welcome, Leslie. Thank you. Appreciate it. And have a great rest of the week. Best of health, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.